2 minutes.
It's just
Why are you
open.
turning us on?
I like turning you on.
You're not going anywhere with that.
I know, right? Stay away.
Say that well, everyone could hear.
I did, she did.
Is Sandra not gonna be here tonight?
No fair.
Well, the cattle got out and, I managed to stop the spring herd and the fall herd from merging into one big herd. But it took me all but 2 minutes till 7 to do it. Well, I got cleaned up. You don't have to worry. Too bad.
That's right. It breaks me.
I have the other morning.
Got a trans woman?
No.
That's a.
There it is.
Oh, the cattle running,
I can't.
but they're running in a good way. Yeah, they're having, they feel good. I got a pasture right out front of our house that I put the other cow, or the other calves in, when I can't, I really will. Also, they feel good when they run like that.
Yep, make sure it is.
Thank you.
I got to watch them.
Yeah.
I've got something. Are you ready? Call the meeting to order. Becca, you want to do the roll call first?
Brian Benema,
Here.
Christine Bob. Here. Monica McHugh,
Present.
Emerita Keys. Here. Tom Stewart,
Yes.
Mike Burt,
Here.
Sandra Gerlach is absent and excused.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to look at the meeting minutes for June 16th of 2025? And if so, we entertain a motion to approve them.
And so moved. I'll second.
All in favor of approval of minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? It passes. So now I guess we'd entertain a motion to open up the public hearing for the case ZC 25-03, zoning for a Mark Heights of 38209 Highway 52, Bellevue, Iowa. Motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second by. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. So we'll be here from, I presume you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So come on, please ensure. Volume to us, please.
I guess we bought a neighbor's house. We want to split the yard in half. So we can keep half the yard by our house. It's kind of a long, narrow yard. And then we just want to resell the other half, the house, the other half of the yard. And we don't plan to build on that. We just want it, so it's an open yard.
From the map, it looks like it's just south of San Donatus, is that right?
North.
North,
Just north of San.
a half mile.
That's the reason I was getting confused about it. Got it.
Anybody have any more questions?
May I?
Yes, you may.
I just want to clarify a few things because your project's been a little bit, you weren't quite sure with some of the changes that might happen. So we're looking at keeping 2 lots to meet the minimum of 20,000 square feet.
Yeah.
All right. Was there still talk about selling this south part of the lot to anybody else?
It's been talked about, but we haven't got nothing worked out with the DOT. They keep. Don't want to give us an access down there.
Okay, Cause that would be a problem, because if you were to split that off again, and you already had two lots that were 20,000 square feet. You would, that other split probably would be granted.
No, because the way we'd be doing it, on the other end of the property, there's 30 feet.
Okay,
And the guy would be switching his driveway from the one end of the property to the other end of the property,
so
so
you'd be looking at doing a swap.
a swap from that driveway. That 30 feet to the other end of the property,
Okay,
so we actually would gain 10.
okay, I was just making sure.
Yep.
Okay,
So this is your home at the bottom of the photo? Is
No.
that, or is that
Actually,
like
the
the
top.
property? Okay, so
What we
that's the
bought was
property.
the bottom one.
Okay, thank you.
so. That would be two different, we'd probably be looking at another rezoning after the fact. Cause this piece here is currently zoned, A1, and it wasn't part of the request. For rezoning, so this might have to be revisited if you're gonna take and move that part into resident R1 also.
Is there any way you can leave half of it ag?
That's the way it would be set up, well. It muddies it up a lot.
Because it would be joining our farm there.
Well, if you joined it with your farm, that would be A1, but if you were using that 30 feet. To get your required 20,000 square foot lot, you'd wanna have it R1, because we have to have. R1 zone property with R1 zone property to meet that minimum. Here, I can kind of, so
Okay,
they
so-
can see what I'm doing here, so the current lot. And this is gonna be scanned, because I can't get as tight as the other mapping tools can. Ah, shoot. All right, we're gonna do that again, and I'm gonna have square feet up this time, you guys. So right now, we're at 38,000 square feet. And if. Hang on here, because I thought we measured that out at 40. Yeah, we're using 40,000 square feet. So the required is 20,000. So half of 40 is 20, so we have two 20,000 square foot lots. However, if this. If you lost what, about 30 feet there, Mark?
For some reason, your bottom line isn't moving over far enough.
Because I just drew it right now with the fence post, just because I know where it is, because that's where your property line is right here, right?
Yeah, over from, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I started this time around. I just can't get any closer.
So there'd only be 6 feet coming off that garage
Okay,
to get to 20 feet.
okay. So about like that. So he's looking at potentially, and I use the word potentially, right?
Yeah.
Deeding off this, so it can be sold to an adjoining landowner. But if we did that now, we'd be shorting one of our lots, 20,000 square feet. So that's just, because I know you've been kind of,
But the only way
Yeah.
we could do that is if we got 30 feet on the other end, we'd be swapping.
okay. All right, so there'd be, all right, so Okay, we'd still have to.
So we still have the 20.
Garage coming down.
I say, what?
Is that garage coming down or something? Am I missing something here?
Part of it will,
Yeah.
Okay, the garage is coming down, okay.
part of it,
Part of it.
Yeah. yeah.
Could be
What
part
if
of,
you left it an easement instead of deeding it?
Easement would be different than, because they wouldn't have ownership. You'd still own the underlying ground. An easement is allowing somebody to use that for, ingress egress. So that wouldn't take that away.
So then we'd have 20 and 20.
Is your purpose giving the neighbors a driveway there? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
That's what
then
we're trying to do.
easement would work.
which neighbors you talking about?
It's the one behind.
All
Oh,
that's,
behind. Okay.
That field in the back.
Oh, so they can
Okay,
come out that
okay.
way.
I was confused. I
Well,
thought it
that
was the
driveway,
house.
that lane back in.
Yeah.
That one there.
because currently they go through the property owner's property from here,
Oh.
go around the corn crib, then up,
That's crazy.
up
Yeah, I
that
wouldn't
way.
like that either.
Yeah.
So they go, so this would give them a straight shot right down.
I see.
So they're not going through your
I could
property.
figure out what's.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. It's been a little bit of a process.
It's big, yeah, you guys.
So the easiest thing to do is just do an easement?
I wouldn't want an easement, but and easements are easy, but I've seen too many ugly things in the short time I've been here with easements. Some easements that have been there since 1960, whatever. 25-foot easements causing problems.
About 70 years of access with no easement.
Oh, that's your problem.
So to get the 20 feet by the garage. He's proposed to give us that 30 feet on the other end of the lot. Plus half of that. Couple acres behind the house there.
So would you need that basically lined up and ready to go before you decided where the split on the property is, right?
Yeah, we have to, the DOT would have to say yes or no, whether they're gonna give it to us.
And then you'd have to decide if you're making the deal with the neighbor, and then you could figure out where the middle of the property line is to get two 20,000 square foot lots.
Yeah,
Well, the other thing is, from what I understand from. The health department, is that the area where the septic system is?
I think the septics,
So the septic system on that 20?
and it wouldn't affect the septic. If the setback from that would be fine. The well's kind of back where that LP tank is. Can you see the LP
Yeah.
tank?
Yeah,
And septic is just below the garage there, in the front of the garage. And it's
so it's basically under the driveway.
right at the edge of the tanks are right tight to the driveway.
It's the new system that doesn't have the.
The
trap
coconut,
lines.
it's got that coconut tank they talk about.
So
Oh.
you don't have to have the sand trap lines.
Well, so you don't have, oh, okay, you don't have a drain field, basically.
So there's no drain field.
Okay, okay.
so I can see you guys maybe having to revisit this to get. This other part. Of the lot is part of a legal description to. To be rezoned.
Well, I mean, wouldn't we need to know what's going on with the whole thing before we
Like with the
do
DOT.
rezoning?
Yeah.
And all?
Well, right now,
Or-
I mean, would they meet the requirements for the rezoning as is? Yes.
They would, yes.
So you have a 40,000 square foot lot that can be easily divided into two 20,000 square foot lots. So that could technically be rezoned. However, if this lot here is sold, they're short. And they wouldn't, the new survey wouldn't be able to split that. You know, we wouldn't allow that split without this piece to the north, which
Well,
that
can they-
piece.
So can the other people purchase before? I mean, cause you're talking about swapping, right? Are you talking about exchanging them or?
like money changing?
No money would change hands.
There could still be this, the rezoning could still happen now for,
Just that part, though.
for this piece.
Go
Or,
ahead, Nick.
well, that would come later.
Yeah.
They'd still, but we'd still need to rezone
I
this
can rezone that.
if that's coming, if this part's coming out
Right, I get
of
it.
that.
So you can rezone it without knowing exactly where the split's gonna be. Correct?
We know that we're gonna have minimum of, you just make your requirement, you have to state that you want that minimum 20,000 square foot lot. No matter where that line is, your bottom line is 20,000 square feet.
Unless,
And there, maybe the driveway never happens.
What?
Yeah.
Cause it trouble, Monica.
not going to cause any trouble.
If you had to rezone it, I don't see why you would keep that little bitty strip. Ag, if you were gonna,
It hasn't happened though.
I know, but.
They wouldn't,
That would
and
just be
actually,
stupid.
they wouldn't be able to, I mean, the more I look at that, it's like. If they were gonna swap this for that, this part would have to go be rezoned to residential. In
Right.
order to keep that minimum of
Correct.
20,000.
I get that, what I'm saying is they wouldn't be turned down for that. It's like if you have to go back and rezone it, doesn't it have, you have to go back before the zoning commission and get permission? Why would the zoning commission just say, yeah, that's okay, that little
Because it's not-
strip's not gonna stay?
It wasn't
Because
part
it's
of
not
the,
part of the application.
or the notice of public hearing.
Okay. But it would be in the future.
Yes, if it goes back.
Right, who would object to it? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
I just,
I don't-
that.
It's part of the process.
Point.
It's part of the process.
No, I get that this part of the process. What I'm saying is you're not really risking anything
Oh, to rezone this.
to rezone,
No,
rezone this now.
No,
As far as needing that rezone later, I can't see why it would be turned down, is where my point.
Well, we want the process then. We don't know so much we're gonna be able to do tonight, but we could be on that.
So you gotta hit you, anything, you know, anybody online? At all, that has any found one?
no,
No. There, we've got anything else that we can, entertain a motion to close the public hearing, I guess.
I'll go to close the public hearing.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. So now we have to make a decision on. We need to make a motion so we can discuss it. What, motion, something.
I move that we approve the rezoning.
Second.
Okay,
So we have motion and second.
any more discussion on? Alan?
And we'll have to close discussions. Second that.
What was it?
Just stop, all those discussions. So I guess we can vote on the motion that Monica made to rezone it to from A1 to R1, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, we can do a roll call. One back and forth.
Yes. Brian Venema,
Yes.
Christine Cobb. Yes. Monica McHugh,
Yes.
Emerita Keith,
Yes.
Tom Stewart,
Yes.
Mike Burke,
Yes. Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
may I ask your applicant something?
yeah.
Have you guys already started on the process of the survey or anything, or are you guys still?
Wait to see if this went through before I told them to serve.
Oh, really? Yeah, why not? Yeah, because I know your surveyor called and I talked to him like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, he was just waiting for this meeting, I think,
Okay,
survey or not survey.
okay, got ya. Got ya. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We will probably see you again.
Laura, you out there?
She was hiding in the dark.
Yes, she was. The light was on.
Oh, did it go dark on?
Yeah,
you?
it is.
I didn't know she was sitting there.
Was she sleeping?
We're ready for you, Laura.
Um,
Oh, yeah. If you have any items from the public, we can do that. Before Laura sits down, he's ready. Got anybody on there at all? Or-
Give me a second, I got a little, let's see. Nope.
Oh, okay, good. So we're up to item number 5 on the agenda, the work session for the preparation of the Jackson County zoning ordinance update project.
Boom, there we go. Okay. How's everybody doing tonight? Good? Okay, I'm not, I'll find my thing done. Stick to that. Keep it on. All right. Bear with me, I had a little trouble reading. Whoa,
And I was trying to see if I could,
I really am.
I was trying to see if I could make it larger.
turns. Me.
Okay, Laura, I'll do this again. I was just trying to, we'll just have to do partials.
Well, this is the outline for our work session. As usual, we try to keep you up to date on what we put on the website, so we have a lot of information that went up. For things that you'd already reviewed and have approval by consensus. We also created another section for the, what I'm calling reports. You see those listed, those were things where we brought you like a single item or a section for review, and so those have been posted as you've been approving them. For tonight's work session, we had 2 items that we were not able to get to at the June work session. Those are the sign regulations and the non-conforming packet. The following at our revised chapters for adult daycare zoning regulations, kind of an overall introduction to chapter 2. The agriculture, residential, commercial, limited industrial, and general industrial district. We did review all those, and we've tried to make the changes to accommodate your comments. And then we do have another item from the June 16th meeting was the rules and procedures. And then we have some chapters that have not yet been drafted and reviewed by staff, so you haven't seen those. The updated We've seen some of those sections, but not the whole thing. For each section, and then chapter 6 is gonna have to get updated as we're working our way through all these other things. So at this point, if you'd like, we could work on the one on the, oops, go back down. We could work on the two sections, 2.9 and 2.1 that you didn't get to last week. You've had those the longest. Does that sound?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So this, let's see, when, can you go to the next page, please? So the way I've presented the sign regulations is there's a set of definitions with images. These can be in chapter 6, or they can be in section 2.9. They can stay with the sign regulations, either way. The sign regulations, we have added new definitions. There are a number of terms that were not defined. So we worked on doing that. We put in information about a sign permit, because there is one that is required, but it's not really clear in the current ordinance. We have decided to pull those sign regulations out of each of the districts and put them all in this one section. We've added references to Iowa code and the Iowa DOT regulations related to billboards. Based on commission discussion at an earlier meeting, and then we also found information about LED displays with the Iowa DOT requirements, so those have been included. As we looked at existing signs that were coming in for permits, the current regulation for 100 square feet for a freestanding sign in the commercial and industrial districts is really. Most of the signs are a little bigger than that, the existing signs. So we're thinking maybe you might want to go a little larger, maybe just double it to 200 square feet. But you don't have to, you could leave it at 100. Signs that are larger than that can still be updated. They just have to follow the non-conforming sign regulations, but they can't continue to be used and replaced. So
is your recommendation that we raise that from 100 square feet to 200?
it's a recommendation, but it's really, I don't know that it's not a strong recommendation of some things. It's really more up to you. The existing signs can continue to exist and be changed.
I think we probably should, because when you think about that, it's 10 feet by 10 feet, and that's really not that big.
Well, the next question I was gonna ask is, would it make it simpler for you when so you didn't have to go through the process? So I would move that we increase that to 200 square feet.
I would agree with that.
Is that the consensus of everyone? Any objections?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here, and we'll see if you have any questions as we move along. So we had very few definitions, as I mentioned. And so the other thing that we did is there was a list of things underneath the definition, and so part of me doesn't like putting regulations in the definitions. And so I kind of lean towards putting these into that same chapter where the sign regulations are, because they're right there. And then the regulations and the illustrations and definitions are all together. One of the illustrations I really like is this one, because it has all sorts of sign types in one picture. It's kind of a comprehensive one to look at. And then as we move through the definitions, we pulled in things that related to sign types that were being regulated, but weren't being defined. We also tried to come up with regulations that were a little more clear. Some of these were a little elaborate and included spacing and everything in the direction, for example, directional signs included a definition and all sorts of other information. And we really would rather put that in with the regulatory portion. So just a series of definitions, for different types of signs that were regulated, and then as we go down, we have some pictures of them. So a pole sign is a sign on a pole. And if it has an electronic message sign, that Walgreens sign has a electronic sign under it. Ground signs or monument signs sit on the ground. Fuel island signs and canopy signs are shown in this illustration. The other thing we did was we talked about signs in terms of whether they have illumination, if they're moving, just different types, off-site, on-site, as well as specific types like a fuel island sign. If there was some type of Iowa code regulation, like political campaign signs, we reference that. And if there were signs regulated specifically by the Iowa Department of Transportation, like these tourist-oriented directional signs, we referenced that and used one of their pictures. Keep going. So this is the current language in chapter 2.9. And there isn't much to it. It's these few items listed here. And so then we just put the sign regulations. So what we start off with here is, need to see. Oops, that's all right. So we start off with signs that are exempted and put a list there. And that sets up, this is pretty much, you can see this is a lot of the information here, current regulations. Then we talked about the next heading is signs that are allowed but that don't need a permit. So all of those that are exempted, plus smaller signs, nameplate signs for people, just signs under a certain size or for a certain purpose, really didn't feel like needed to be regulated with a permit. So then we jump down to section 3, general regulations. So this is for signs that require a permit from the zoning administrator. And we reference chapter 3. And then we also begin to talk about that they have to, their maintenance, society of ordinance. There were some differing numbers for removal. We went with 30 days. In terms of assignments, it's not, it's the sign is for a use that's not there anymore. I recommend 30 days. And then if there's any kind of refuse or rubbish should also be cleaned up. We do address non-conforming signs here, and we reference the non-conformity section, which we'll be talking about in just a bit. We put in some information that the signs should not impact any official traffic signs. They should meet the setbacks unless there's provisions elsewhere. And they're not allowed in the public right of way, except for some exceptions. And those types of things have to be reviewed and approved by the zoning administrator and the county engineer. For measurements, we happen to have a really good example come in that we could use it as a way to help. When there's no information in your current ordinance about how to measure or compute the area, this is pretty standard language. This sign is a really great example of somebody giving us exactly what we need to do all of these things and make all these determinations.
And you know how I'm always looking for real world examples. This doesn't get much more real world. This is Otter Creek.
I know, I was looking, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, and this sign was the one that made us think about, let's go from 100 to 200 square feet, make that a recommendation. This sign is about 131 square feet. So this is a really good example, and I really like having this timely example that works so well, because they are absolutely following all the regulations here, which are really what you have, except they weren't really clear. So we organized them, made them a little more clear. It just helps who's ever trying to build the sign and whoever's trying to administer the sign. You can go to the next page. So we just, again, I mentioned earlier, we put some information in about a sign permit. It wasn't really clear. It was kind of part of a general zoning permit, but after discussing it, we felt like, let's be upfront. We need a permit, we need a sign permit. This is what it should.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this. If you've got, because obviously around our area, you'll see signs at the end of driveways for graduation parties, things like that. So does this exclude temporary stuff like that? Okay.
It does. Or they're allowed without a permit. We have ones that are already exempt, and then we have other ones that are allowed. So those types of signs, there's no reason to regulate them. You'd go crazy.
That's why I wanna make sure.
Yeah, we don't wanna do that. We don't want anybody going crazy. So
Yeah.
one of the things we did, I remember having a discussion about signs along highways. So we do have billboard and advertising signs currently in the ordinance. There is a sign permit required by the state. So we just went ahead and did some research, found out what the Iowa DOT uses, put in references for their information, then just kind of worked our way through that. So our default position is if you require a state permit, and we don't need to regulate it too. However, if you don't require a state permit, our thought was, well, we'll just have you meet the same DOT requirements, because then we don't have to think of anything different, and they're all the same. So our recommendation was to default to the DOT. They actually are pretty close to what your current regulations are. And the advantages is that their people are probably site contractors are likely to be familiar with them. The next page.
I want to blow that picture up and see if any of my family's cars are sitting there.
Count up to beer cans next to us.
So Lori's favorite, the local example or the real life example. I just had to stop and pull off and made sure I wasn't gonna cause an accident, get out there and take this picture, because it was like, wow, I got a whole bunch right here. So we've got billboards, we got advertising signs, we got identification signs, governmental directional signs, all different kinds of things, double things, internal illumination, electronic message, all these things, all in this one site. It's just really, really good, because you can talk about them, but I think pictures really help when it comes to signs. And so this site was just like really good. And then this is the old sign. And then the one we just looked at a minute ago was the new
The
sign.
new sign.
Yeah, so the signs are different, but they're about the same size.
Why did they change?
Because they were an independent gas station, they went to Amoco after the government gave them all the money to put in the ethanol. So they redid the tanks, they redid the canopy, because canopy wasn't that big either.
Last summer, right?
Yeah, they started last summer. And in the fall, I think the rest of the tanks were up, but they've had Amazon coming soon for a long time, so.
So section 7 is permits that are required for identification signs. And so these would be for principal uses, they could be for accessory uses, they could be for conditional uses. What we did is we combined information that, again, these were scattered in each of the districts, and there were some quirky things and they weren't always consistent, so I feel like pulling them together here is a good idea. We've kept most of the regulations, so again, anything in black is your current regulation. And really for ag and R1, really are a lot of changes. Kind of work to pull together C1 highway commercial, the M1 and M2 industrial districts. So we have pretty uniform regulations among those, so we kind of group those together. You can see the changes there. There's not really a lot. We have an image here for a projecting sign, and we do have a definition for that. See what else to do. And I think that's the end of it. So we feel like we have a lot more helpful information for staff and for the sign contractors with the regulations organized this way, all of them. So this is the clean version. If you want to look through that, or we can, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer that. Those as well. If not, we can move along to our chapter, or excuse me, our section on nonconformities. So nonconformities are commonly called grandfathered. In this section, we took care to mention that the first Jackson County zoning ordinance went into effect on May 6, 1976, because that sets us up for some of the things that happen with nonconformities. We're really trying to be more consistent and have more explanation, making sure there's information there about repairing and altering, reconstruction, discontinuance, conversion, and we pulled signs into this. So the idea of the non-conforming section in this ordinance and in most ordinances is not to penalize, but to accommodate up to a point anything that doesn't meet the zoning regulations because it was built before they were in effect. So it's trying to be sensitive to the fact people made an investment, they built a house, they erected a sign, they did they started some business with a certain kind of use, and now it's not real, it's grandfathered in. So generally what we're looking to do is we kept a lot of your current language. We're not trying to go into to create undue hardship.
Laura, without looking too hard into this, so if somebody has an existing sign that's non-conforming and decides to replace it, you know, because it's worn out and old, do they have to meet the new standards, or can they non-conform now?
So the example for the Otter Creek gas station, that older sign didn't meet franchise requirements. But it also was non-conforming because it was 131 square feet, which currently is too big.
Okay.
Current regs say 100. But they came in at almost precisely the same size. I think a tenth of a, 131.7 to 131.6, something like that. So they did not increase their non-conformity in terms of the overall sign square footage.
Okay.
They already met every other requirement. The only thing was the size of the sign. So, okay. Now, if they come in with 200, then they have to go to the Board of Adjustment.
The Board of Adjustment, okay,
And they
that
can
answers my
They could ask for a variance, or no, dimensional variance. That's what we need.
So basically, if they rebuild the same sign, they're okay. If they want a bigger sign, Board of Adjustment.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, and
That's more
actually,
than 200.
Well, yeah, we just increased it.
if they want something more than 200, let's say the Board of Supervisors says, great idea. We agree, we want the 200 square feet. Someone comes in and wants to build one at 250. Dimensional variance is available from the Board of Adjustment if they can make their case.
Great.
So that's really how this is structured. When we get into the regulations, we're really trying to, say, if the government made changes and now you're not, non-conforming, we're not gonna count that because the cause was the government acquisition. If something was, was illegal, however, if you put something up, was not legal at the time, you don't get a break. You have to put something up that was legal, met the regulations at the time. Doesn't meet them now, okay, we'll accommodate you. Didn't meet them then, doesn't meet them now. You need to do something about that, try to bring it into conformance. One of the big things that we have come up, and Lori and I have been working together, and most administrators will face this, is we have lots of record that exists before we had zoning. And so, what we try to do, and in your court ordinance you do, is you try to accommodate those so they can be used, so that people can make an improvement on them. The current report language is really, really confusing, so we've, and difficult. It relies on the ability for us to know who owned the property on May 6, 1976. We don't know, and actually, it really doesn't matter. We need to deal with what's going on today. So we've simplified it to let's just look at what's going on with the lots now. Who owns them? Do they own enough that if they combine them, they can have a single lot? Good. Let's let them use that together to build whatever they want to do. So we're really trying to not worry about what happened in terms of who owned it. It's kind of irrelevant. It's more what's going on right now. Let's deal with this situation. We think that'll make it a lot easier. Lauren and I got a headache trying to figure out how to look up the ownership when we decided, but here. It's not, ownership's not in 1976 doesn't matter right now. Let's just face the facts. Who owns it now and how much they have, what are their issues? That's much easier to work with that. So we're happy we were able to figure out a good solution now. Agree. We moved a lot of on this next page, we just moved a lot of your information over. The green is things that got moved.
We have page 3.
Brief. So in terms of non-conforming uses, you take a lot of your current language. What I'd like to do in this section though is put it into little headings. I think it's easier, especially with non-conformities. It can get kind of tricky. So I think if we, anything we can do to make it a little easier to read, I think is helpful. The next page. We did again move some language about conversion. One of the things that we're suggesting here is the reconstruction of non-residential uses, and has a little bit different threshold than and a little bit different, just a little bit different threshold than the residential. They're still pretty close. We really try, if it's some place where someone lives. And there's some catastrophe, fire. For example, then we try to be pretty liberal in letting them rebuild and stay there. And I think that's fair. If the use you have didn't require a conditional use permit, but does now, you're automatically grandfathered as a, okay, you're a conditional use. If you do anything different or change it or expand it, then you might have to get your conditional use renewed or reapproved. For non-conforming structures. See, that's page, oh, that's the next page.
Oh, should I still be on a three?
No, I'm on, well, I'm on. I don't know where I am. 4, 5.
Before we go to 5,
We did that. We already
I
did
just
5.
want to point something out to the commission to make sure they understand and see something. So on page 4, number 10. Junkyards, do you guys want to look that over? And
Oh, yeah.
I
That's
like that one.
We've done this in the past.
Yeah, that's a good one. So this is, what happened. What's happening here is. Non-conforming junkyards are amortized out. They need to be. Discontinued, removed, or relocated to M2 within 5 years. I forgot I wanted to-
yeah, because I knew that was
You don't
blue.
So-
if that's your current language, but if that's not something you're comfortable with.
Is that a commercial junkyard?
Yes, it's one that's already zoned, or it was originally there, it's non-conforming.
So what is
We-
it,
we
if
would-
you have, like we were talking about earlier, somebody's,
Possession file. under
Possession
farm, but
file.
That's different, that's.
and it's
under-
next to
that's-
the road or
That's,
something.
that's a little bit different, I mean, if it's on the road. The zoning administrator can make them clean it up, right?
If it's on the road, the county engineer,
Yeah,
Oh,
we don't
right,
regulate,
no,
the zoning ordinance doesn't
Yeah.
regulate right of way. The other
Right.
thing is, remember, if it's a farm, it's exempt with, the zoning administrator regulates nothing on it.
yeah,
Do you have an example for us?
Well, here, we're gonna, without mentioning names, we have a, salvage yard. Guy takes cars. Takes off parts, hauls out the chassis or whatever is left. It's on his residential property out in the county. 5 acres, 3 acres, whatever it might be. So the Board of Adjustment, granted a, conditional use for special exception use as a home occupation. So how would that affect a home occupation that's a salvage yard?
Would this hypothetical be just down the road from me?
No, sir.
Okay, well, I got.
no, it's towards my area,
Okay.
No, ma'am.
oh, it's not.
You got more than you think then.
But wait a minute, it's
So,
already got, this
well-
has already been approved, it's got a special exemption, so that's different.
Here's what's gonna happen if the ordinance gets approved as we've recommended it. Under, did you say home industry?
Yeah, it was a home occupation for, well, I can't remember. It was one or the other. It was probably a home industry. Yeah, because he had to go through the Board of Adjustment.
So the home industry, we have to look and see that.
Lori, is that
Go back.
that time that we took that road trip? To see the data mining facilities
No,
on our way back?
no.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember where we
The
went.
county's full.
This is out, well, this was one of those, and, you know, to bring up, well, they're looking that up, to bring up something Monica
So if you
mentioned.
go to.
Okay, there's a lot of junky properties in our county. And we learned, there's things I'd do different like say Leisure Lake,
Mhm.
Green Island, how we started working on those. I would do differently. And the thing is, you have to target a certain area. You can't just go willy-nilly
Right.
and just, I don't like that.
Right.
Yeah, so we're pretty much complaint driven unless we can target a whole area. And I've actually had goals that I wanted to implement while I was here, but
So you
I
have
was-
to stay until they're done.
no, but I looked through rose-colored glasses and thought I could accomplish a lot more than I did.
Leave a list.
Well, and my goal was to, finish Leisure Lake, Green Island and Fulton. And then hit the corridors. Highway 64, Caves Road and all those that are part of the scenic byway. Great River Road, hit those areas first, target areas. Don't just go out in the boondocks and start, and I can think of the one north of you, oh dude, that's bad. But
That's why it came to mind.
yeah, but that's part of it, you gotta have a plan.
So.
You don't just go start picking out on this or that. You have a plan, because why me, why them? And I've always wanted to be articulated, we're doing this as a blanket in this specific geographic area. So unless there's a complaint, Monica, you wanna put your name on complaints, you're not gonna make friends with Becca very fast.
I am not going to do that.
So, but yeah, we have some, lawful auto salvage junkyards in our county that are home occupation.
Well, anyway, that would be 5 years from when new version is adopted.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and what we did is, I think, is that we tied home industry to home occupation. No impact home occupation, which means can't be any of these prohibited by state code. And it can't be operated as a junkyard, salvage, or recycling operation.
So technically, they could come and apply to be rezoned M2, but they'd have to prove there's a reason to do it.
Yeah, because they're being required by our ordinance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real easy to prove. It says they have to.
Right, yeah, what I'm saying,
That
what
would
I'm
be an
saying is,
easy decision for you.
that's right, they'd have to prove that it was a valid change of zoning.
Yeah, even though like this particular one's out in the middle of nowhere. It's on a B road. His place ends and the B road starts. It's covered by timber.
It's not mine. It's sounding like my farm. It is not my farm.
Oh, no, honey, it's not.
So if you're okay with that, I appreciate Lori remembering to pull it out. We weren't recommending any change of that.
In front of my house.
And the junkyards, the lawful non-conforming junkyards do have options. One, they could go somewhere that's M2, or they can rezone to M2, or
Right,
they
yeah.
can discontinue operation.
Yeah.
So you have options for that business.
Yeah.
The application fee and the rezoning process, I don't think is onerous. It's certainly cheaper than the moving and relocating.
Right.
Um,
Do you have a rough guess how many there are?
do we want to know about that?
As far as the legal lawful ones,
That are gonna be affected by this right here.
by the ones that say are lawful, there, I'm trying to think of a couple, oh, and I'm assuming the one's lawful, but it would go back to pre-1976, that has probably been there. So that would be lawful, so I'm betting a half dozen at least.
But they're in the same situation right now, whether the ordinance changes or not. Or is updated, this is a current regulation that's we haven't gone out and enforced.
Right, they just haven't enforced, okay, so that's just, we haven't enforced it.
I'll be over on that half dozen.
I'm a bleeding heart, you guys.
Hey, remember that bus though?
I know,
There we
oh.
go. Got her back. No problem,
Remember
okay.
what? I missed that.
Oh,
Never mind.
she was gonna be a bleeding heart while I reminded her of a junkie thing.
Okay, yeah, let's keep going.
What's our next page here?
We're gonna go to number 5.
We're on,
This is 4.
we are, okay, 5. 5 I talked about,
Okay,
sorry about that, I talked about it when it was enough.
okay,
So now let's talk about something that is there. All right, 6 is dealing with when you have something that's a conditional use pre-existing, and so this tackles that issue in terms of continuance, discontinuance, reconstruction, 7, and conversion. We added non-conforming signs in here because they're mentioned in the sign section, and so it's pretty much trying to make sure people maintain and repair them. And the example that we talked about can increase their degree of non-conformity. And we do have an opportunity for the zoning administrator to remove them for certain circumstances. And that is the end of the non-conforming section. We can look at the clean version if you like, or if you have any questions. Otherwise, you're ready, we can move on to the next stuff. We're ready. Let me go. Now, for something completely different. The next topic is adult and child care provision. So this was something you should ask about. And so we've spent some time, put it into its own special report here. As we researched this, we ran into a couple of things. There are provisions in county zoning and city zoning chapters of Iowa Code dealing with what's called a family home. There is also Iowa Administrative Code for adult daycare that can also be considered a family home. Against the regulations there were kind of back and forth. So one of the thoughts was Iowa law protects family homes, which are, you see their definition there in that second paragraph under family homes. And since Iowa law is regulating those, including ones providing adult daycare, we all thought, well, let's treat them as family homes, and we know how to regulate. Childcare has regulations under Iowa Code and Iowa Administrative Code, and those have their own requirements. So our thought was, okay, we've got Iowa Code, Iowa Administrative Code, different agencies. Let's just let those codes play out, and we'll just decide where they should be. And so this, in this sense, we also ran into preschools having some of the similar characteristics, and sometimes childcare centers and preschools are used interchangeably. So our recommendation is summarized in the table on page 2. In terms of how we define it, you can see we have very short definitions. They all relate back to the regulatory, whatever regulation is governing that particular use. Family home and adult daycare are recommended as to be the same, conditional in A1, permitted in R1 and C. Child care center is the most kids, the biggest it can be. So we said, well, let's make that a conditional use. Child care home is an accessory. This is the one we were concerned about. Well, geez, how can it pass the standards for home industry or home occupation? It doesn't have to. It just has to meet state code. And it's okay as an accessory use. in those three districts, which is where single family residential units can be. Or residential units. And then the child development is kind of in between those, so it's a little bigger. But not as big as child care center, bigger than what you could do in your own home as an accessory use. So we thought, well, that probably should be a conditional use. A1 and R1, but so we've comfortable with it as a permitted use in the commercial districts. And we just treat preschool the same as we treat childcare center. So that kind of summarizes our recommendations. Be happy to go over that. If you don't have any questions, we can leave that. Questions or concerns?
Not really.
Okay. Great. All right, this next section is building on section 2.1. Oh, it might be easier just to go ahead and show the first page. So basically, all that was in here was a list of the districts. That's the black, right? You see there, and we pulled the planned unit development in there. But what I wanted to do was, I wanted to have some explanation here. So what are our districts? Here they are. Here's the schedule of zoning districts. Then the next section, here's the schedule of the different kinds of land uses and structures you're gonna encounter. And there they are, with the symbol. And then how do you apply these? And then at the bottom, and then. So how do you apply these the schedule of uses and structures? And what are the types of structures? So there is on the next page, which is page 2 of this section. Here's those uses in the chart are defined. And wherever we could, we refer back to Iowa code or section of our zoning ordinance for more help in how they should be regulated. So farm exempt, principal, accessory, conditional, temporary. And then we also talked about at the bottom of the page, things that would not be allowed. Because in the matrix, the commission said, you want to have something that shows something's not allowed. So we created a definition. This, what we're jumping into, nope, you're right here at the top of page 3 of this section, standard and alternative residential regulations. We talked about this when we talked about A1 and particularly R1. This relates back to Leisure Lake and Dressler subdivision and the lots platted before May of 1976. And so this is another breakout layer where the regulations are a little bit different because the circumstances of platting versus zoning are a little different. All that being said, that's all designed to help you understand then this matrix. So the matrix got a little complicated if I put everything all together. So I broke it up into principal and conditional uses because those can both be. The conditional uses can be accessory, but a lot of times they're like a principal use. So if they're permitted in a zone. See, how did I do this? I can't even read my own chart. If they're principal use, they're a P. If they're conditional use, they're a C. And if they're not allowed, it's an N. And so that first matrix deals with principal and conditional uses. When we go to page 4, there's more of them. What I tried to do also is to break them up by land use category. With residential, education and assembly, lodging, commercial. Yeah. Which goes on for a while, it's page 6. Yeah, somewhere there's, is there industrial? Oh, industrial, yeah, industrial begins in the lower third of page 6, it just doesn't have a grade. There's a couple you'll see there with question marks, that's your data processing center, you're still working on that one. And then others, so the idea here is. All of this reflects the discussion you had about these uses in each of these districts. I hope. I need to triple check out, but the game plan here is. The way they're listed in individual districts you're gonna look at, it's summarized here. So this is a way for Becca to say. Yes, that is allowed in the district. No, it's not. And it's also a way for the user, the applicant, to understand that. One of the things we ran into while we were doing this, though, is that we are really trying to regulate railroads, public utilities, and public maintenance facilities. I can tell you from past experience with the city of Dubuque, you cannot regulate a railroad very much, federal. Public utilities, you might be able to, but they also have to meet other standards. So we try to simplify those and give them, just really allow them in most districts. We have a little bit more restrictive zone type, excuse me, in
Retiring just in the nick of time.
in a residential district, but there's really not, there's really not much you can tell a railroad to do.
No, they have a mind of their own.
Well, and they have a lot of autonomy.
Yeah, right.
Federal umbrella that
Right.
protects them or.
Right.
So then the next table of the next matrix is bringing in your farm, exempt your accessory and temporary uses and structures, same thing.
Or can I interrupt? I just want to make sure we got something covered, because I had a phone call the other day, 2-3 weeks ago. People looking to buy an ag zone property. So land use by category, agricultural, so agriculture zone property. It's like 5 acres, but it's in a subdivision. I could tell you guys right where it is, because Tom, you're gonna go, oh yeah. Anyway, they're like, well, the people who want to buy it are moving from out of state and they want horses. Can they have horses? Livestock. So we don't mention livestock on here.
That's because it's part of the definition of farms.
It fits it. Okay, got it.
No, it doesn't. Not unless you have to go read that definition.
Okay.
Which refers to 4 or 5 sections of Iowa code.
Okay.
And having a horse is not the same, does not meet the definition of a farm.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
It does not.
Because,
I don't care if you have 2 horses.
well, at
Still
the
doesn't-
point, it was, can we have livestock or horses on the property?
If you can meet the definition of farm, yes, otherwise. Is it allowed? As what's on the property now? A house? Are horses an accessory use for houses?
A lot of people would say yes.
Well, your ordinance better say it then if a lot of people are saying that, because it doesn't right now. Well, and they do, but they are not you cannot be farm exempt because you have 2
Oh,
horses.
no, there was no farm exempt. It was just that they were,
You have to deal with, we don't deal with animals outside of farms. So if you don't regulate them, then they're not on this list, then
but we don't regulate them. Because we just.
then you might not be able to allow them.
Well, but we're not regulating it, so how can we not allow?
They're not mentioned as an accessory use.
I think. Well,
You have to
there's-
make it, you guys have to make
Well,
a
you
determination.
guys might wanna, let's think about this while
Is
we're
it a
bringing it up.
customary and incidental secondary use to a home to have two horses or a horse?
Or your
horses?
four
I
H.
can think of several places out by me. Just north of Otter Creek that have horses.
Are they zoned R1 or A1, would you think? Probably A1.
Cause, well, that's
Most
what,
everything is.
but that was what mine was, it's
Yeah.
zone A1, my example was.
I say it was in a subdivision, but it's A1.
It's an A1 subdivision, so lots are more than 2 acres. So my recommendation to them was, check your covenants.
That's a good, always a good recommendation,
But-
which, by the way, you don't have to enforce.
I know, but for me, I wasn't finding anything in our ordinance that prohibited it in A1.
It doesn't, and if you can determine it meets the definition of accessory use, then you can allow it. Customarily incidental and secondary to the principal use.
Remember those words, Becca?
But you don't have to remember them.
They're right there.
So, remember those words. So if in Jackson County, that is not an uncommon thing, then you can allow.
Not a common thing, people,
And good luck when they say how many.
oh,
This is how we got into regulating horses and ponies in Dubuque. Because it wasn't one or two, it was a lot, yeah. And then it was pot-bellied pigs. And then it was
chicken.
goats, we were already regulating chickens. So, yeah, so you
Okay.
could allow it that way. And,
Yes, I would-
but having two horses doesn't make you a farm.
No, and I wouldn't say it did, but they're egg zone, and typically in egg zoning, you're allowed to have. People have livestock in egg zoning,
So be careful how you phrase that.
livestock.
Is it, you have to go back to your definitions. Oh, how many times do I say this to you?
A couple.
Go to your definitions.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
to your definitions, right? Why saying that? You go to your definitions because that's where it tells you can do that. But uses customarily, oh, it's right here. Where's it? Under other. Or somewhere. Uses customarily allowed.
What I'm thinking is 5 acres
Yes.
that they've got.
Uses clearly
Buildings.
incidental to
Yeah.
be allowed, principal uses and structures. It's a judgment call by the administrator, and if that's what you typically allow, then it's fine. It doesn't need to be in here. It'll only need to be in here if somebody gets too many horses and it creates a
Oh,
problem.
that's.
And then you have to regulate the number of horses or goats or whatever.
I wouldn't want to regulate that,
No,
not at all.
And I don't think they, let's see, I'm trying to look.
Oh, no, you won't have to unless somebody becomes a problem. 10% of the people create the reason for us to have this set of rules.
sure.
This is residential, 5 acres residential, and they've got horses out there.
On yours, okay, the one you're thinking of.
So to me, it sounds like it's common, it's customary, it's incidental, it's secondary.
If
They're
we-
not, it's not a riding stable, it's not.
If we start splitting them.
Oh, when you're looking at that, go to the zoning layer, don't look at what the classification is under Beacon, because that's telling you the classification, not the zoning.
Where do I have to go under that one?
The drop down arrow,
Oh, more
so, no, on the left,
Layered.
layers, there we go,
Layers.
there we go.
so click,
Zoning,
district, county zoning.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't light up a different color, like yellow, it's zone A1.
If it's like white.
Well, that's
and
A1,
it's zoning code A1.
yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, they are, there's 4 houses there, and they're all A1.
yeah, and you would have surprised me because most of our 5 acre tracts, you're not gonna have, zone A1, or R1 rather.
Okay, they are A1, never mind.
They're gonna be zone A. And that's where I look, if we can only teach a few people at a time how to use Beacon. that classification, when you pull up the parcel report, if it says R, that's the classification. That's what the assessor uses. That's not the zoning plan.
That's good to know.
You can have the assessor office add a phrase like not to be used for zoning purposes. I think we had that done at the Butte County. Try and clarify it. Cause I'll tell you, it's pretty confusing, cause you use the word classification in your zoning ordinance. Use the word classification and when you're talking about,
The zoning class, yeah.
when you're talking about the classification for property taxes, and people's eyes roll up in the back of their head and they don't know what they're doing. So I'm pretty sure the Butte County did that for us.
I don't think we wanna do that here.
So it says not to be used after it says whatever the zoning classification or the property land use classification is, it says not to be used for zoning purposes.
That's what this says too. No, this is for tax purposes only, not to be used for zoning.
It's already there.
Yeah, sorry then. There.
Check, done. Already done. Good job.
All right,
Guys are.
All right, lesson off task. Squirrel.
The next section is a schedule of required parking, stacking and loading requirements. There's not a lot of information about parking requirements and regulations in your ordinance. You're just kind of supposed to know what we need, when we say stuff. So we decided we better figure out a way to help people understand this. So one of the things is how you're calculating now. One of the things that we do is if you don't have enough, sometimes you can, some communities give people what's called a credit. There could be a house that didn't have a driveway or didn't have off-street parking. Okay, you don't have it, your grandfather did. And in fact, we'll give you credit for 2 spaces that you need for your house. Just another way to try to not put so many regulations on people that they have expenses, try to come into compliance. Kind of let things work out as they've worked out for a while, and if there's not issues, then I think this has been a good practice for the projects I've worked on. One of the other things we do is if you have more than one use, you can kind of combine parking to meet those needs. One of the ideas or ways to do that is using shared parking. This business is open these hours. I have something else that's using them these hours. Good example might be a church. The business is there Monday through Friday. The church uses the parking on Saturday, and Sunday. That'd be an example of sharing the parking. So both entities don't have to put in their own parking, they can share it. Just trying to be a little bit more flexible, and a little more clear. If we want to go to the next page. This one.
Want me to zoom in on that?
Trying to figure that out. So this next section talks about stacking. And this really only applies to anything that has a drive-through. So that could be commercial uses, financial institutions, other things that require some stacking are car washes, gas stations. And so this is here to provide some guidance. And along with parking, you need to have room for your drive-through or your car wash bay. So what's the next? What are we doing next? Oh, off-street loading requirements. So in your industrial districts, there is mention of off-street loading requirements for everything in the district. Well, everything in the industrial district didn't necessarily need that, so kind of pulled out the 3 main categories there that typically do: bulk storage, manufacturing, processing, wholesaling, warehousing. But we also dropped in childcare, center, child development home, preschool, elementary and secondary schools. Because the schools, for example, there can be a queue for parents or buses or both. For childcare, child development home and preschool. There may be, there's often a need for parents to drop off, pick up the children. So then the next thing that comes up is, okay, so now tell me what my parking requirements are. So it becomes this next matrix, C3, that shows you what are the minimum requirements. And this includes parking, stacking and loading. So for most of these, as you get onto the page, as Laura's pulled this on to page 12, you'll see most of them just have parking requirements. Some of those other uses that I talked about may have a need for not just parking, but also loading or stacking. And so this is just an attempt to put those all into place and make sure they're the same. Some of your uses had two, some had 3 different parking requirements. So this is a good way to get them to all have just one parking requirement. So this is really just repeating information we looked at in the districts originally, moved them out of the districts and put them into these charts. This was what Becca felt would be easier for her to keep track of, and also to make sure people knew they had parking requirements and how to find them. And so this is just a series of, again, 5 separate or similar land uses. Again, what we've looked at in the past. Arranged a little bit differently in its own section. And that's kind of the end of that first section 2.1. I think that we get one. And we're on to the clean version. We can all wait for some. Now, clean version. So have you had any questions? Happy to answer those. Otherwise, we can move on. Keep moving on. What's next? So the next thing after that is we come to R1. So I need you to speed up just a little bit. So we can see the chart.
Oh, that kind of,
Yeah, you know, whenever I say it sounds right to me, but it's not. Okay, so there's this one is, we're back to that idea of we want to accommodate areas that were planted before May 6, 1976, when zoning went into effect. These numbers are based on Leisure Lake, and this is what we looked at previously. And then now we're coming into this discussion of standard and alternative that we talked about earlier. So alternative regulations are for anything that was planted before May 6, 1976. And so do you want to go to the next? And so that difference between standard and alternative plays out, and you'll see it when we get to the district language. This chart was in the last, was in our cover letter when we looked at R1. And so this is, again, this is based on our analysis of existing lots in these areas. Showing the whole chart. There we go. So then when we get to the red line version. So we're making use of tables that are a little bit different than what we looked at last time. We fold the parking. So put it in that section we just looked at. And so now what we're having the clean version is the uses and then any additional regulations. So these reflect the inclusion of adult daycare, family home, childcare when we get to accessory uses through that. So you've seen this information before. I think there may be some typos you need to. So we replaced what was in just this kind of loose chart into a real chart. And we just keep doing it with the uses. See. So then we have a chart for accessory uses. Again, we're gonna pull the parking column will come out. And what's in this one? So the first set was standard. Anything after May 6, 1976, and then we have some accessory structures in R1 that were alternative. So each of these sections has a standard and alternative table. Section. Conditional uses have their own set of regulations that are in 2.9, and so this again, here's your list. Parking's in the earlier section, the additional regulations will be in the other section. And so everything that follows here from where starts number 1, railroads that have been moved down to mobile homes, all of that text is going to go into section 2.9. I talked about that. So we've looked at this and kind of scroll through it. There really hasn't been a lot of changes here because we've already looked at this. Development regulations, this is a little bit different. So you can see. So the first set of development regulations has the word standard added to it. And oops, I think the next one. Oh. I can't. Hopefully I got these labels correct. To the development options. So we separate out standard and alternative. Their own charts. And it's like, oh yeah, this one's. So Becca asked if we can kind of break these out. So you see there's like in table F2, we've put accessory uses and structures and then put those headings in there for the accessory dwelling unit and others, then conditional uses and so forth. So we're trying to make the chart easier to read. And this by separating them in, kind of chunking them into sections like this. And then there's a set of notes wherever it's needed. You can push that there. You can just, so notes, it'll say see a note. And so that's where there might be some differences. These were things that were in your current ordinance or else added so that we can kind of make this work. There's a difference if residential uses have private septic and well, or have municipal services or community services. So I've double checked these numbers. I think we have all of the setbacks in order now. If you want to keep scrolling through this is really what you saw before. You can keep going. So except that now I broke them out. There was a lot all in one chart, so we broke it up. And if you keep going down. Or showing
Okay,
more.
I was just
paging.
peeking because I know we had talked about something and I didn't know if those got addressed well.
So then we come to those diagrams that we looked at last time. For calculating average front yard setback or rear yard, and then then. Sure, the side facing garage and then. See one, I think there's a third. Diagram. And then, so that, all of those things replace that section right there. So the idea was, well, let's create a zone for all these areas that were planted, and then our discussion midway through our process was, maybe we could leave them R1 and create these separate set of standards. When we did that, we felt like we had to put in the separate charts. There's a lot more charts. But this means nobody has to get rezoned. So there's no, so you don't have to sit through a rezone. Lots of people wondering what you're really doing. What you're really doing is helping them, but they won't police you. This way, we don't have to do a rezoning, but we make these regulations work, but it does mean we have more charts. So it gets, I know it gets a little easy. It might be easier. If you want to, we can go to the clean version. So this is what it'll look like with the clean version. Go ahead. The use and where else to find more information. And that's the standard, and if you go to the next page, there's the alternative. Go to the accessory, there's your standard, uses and where else to get more information. And then you go down and there's your alternatives. And then it just repeats itself through each of the types of uses in the same format. So when you get to development regulations, it gets a little busier, but again, Becca and I work to get it separated out, so it becomes a little easier to follow. But again, we're still doing standard and alternative. So there are a lot of charts. I'm hoping that they're easier to read than that. And then, whoops, and then what we do at the end is we tell you, oh, signs, you go to the sign section. Parking, you go to the parking section. For more information, and so, we're really focusing on uses and where the buildings are placed, where the parking is placed, and then the more specifics, you go somewhere else. So that's R1. Any questions on that? When we get to A1, it's a lot of the same thing because we have the same issues. If you want to scroll through this story. So again, the cover letter is almost the same. Here's your same chart. Here's the same information. You can go on to the red line. So it looks the same. We've got the same thing about the standard. Boy, just giving indications where to go for extra or for additional information. So this is really set up the same way. Pulling out the parking. Using charts rather than kind of lists. Again, alternative, standard, alternative, standard. Very good. I put in, I'm keeping track also for you of wherever we've like consolidated uses or put in new categories. So those are often the comments. So when this is out for the public, they're able to keep track of that, as are we. And so we might want to just go ahead and go to the clean version. Anyone's big check?
No, so I was just looking at something here as we're going through. So this was what we ended up with for the
I'll try it.
19, okay, the base with the non-conforming lots,
Pre-existing.
pre-existing. We, I have some real world scenarios and we might wanna look at some of those and
Well, let's not look at them tonight.
not tonight.
No, not
Okay.
tonight.
All right.
So now you see this one is looking the same, very much the same. There's a lot of charts, but we're trying, some of them are busy, but some of them are a little cleaner now. With the setup. So I think we can just. There may be changes and typos in A1, but I think we need to get through the overall. Concepts and setups. That we worked out and so are you all okay with these charts the way we've set them up?
It makes sense. I guess, the real question is everything look good to you better? Okay. Yeah.
I like the charts. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause-
break it down. It makes it easier for somebody to just
Yeah.
pinpoint what they're looking at.
Yeah, and to me, that seems like that, but you're the one that's gonna be working with them the most, so that's, the important thing.
Yeah,
We're-
where it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
In about half an hour, or an hour, that's true.
Yeah. Words can get really wordy, and when you put too many words out there, people just stop reading.
Yeah.
And
Right.
at least with the chart,
wordy.
yeah. Words get way wordy.
Yeah, overwhelming.
And so overwhelming, and if you just want to like pinpoint to your chart and read across, and I think it just simplifies.
Right.
And
Okay, good.
I
I wanted
would,
to hear.
so I would suggest if you're all right with it, we just look at the clean versions of C1,
Yep.
M1, M2. I'm a little tired of redlining, so.
Yeah,
Talk
well,
about wording.
I think and basically, we're looking at the same thing with the different areas, and so, yeah.
So if you want, let's just go ahead, Lori, and jump to the clean version of the C1, I think it is.
Let's see one. Yeah.
And so these are following a format, so we can just kind of scroll through these. Do you want Becca to run that thing while you're?
I was
looking
looking
up
for
stuff?
maps, yeah, I was getting parcel numbers off it.
Okay, well, we're not gonna talk about those tonight.
I know, I was just making a list, so I have them, or I'll
You want
forget.
her, you want her to drive that while you do that?
I'm fine.
Okay,
Okay, good.
So
So,
make a list for it next meeting.
I'll email them.
so,
You're
again,
not gonna do it tonight, you're not gonna be here.
so if you keep.
You mean Thursday, we're gonna have another meeting on Thursday.
Uh,
Waiting for sometime, August.
So there we go, we're through C1. It's pretty short, once you get all that stuff out of there, put it somewhere else. And one, we do the clean version of this,
Yeah, it's easier to read.
it is much easier. But the red version is really important to track what happened, so thanks for bearing with me on this. So again, we can just scroll through these. And they're set up so that they're there, for sure. And
Boy, we're whizzing right through this stuff.
go through M2, we're just gonna skip the red line. And so this one reflects some of the change and some of the changes we discussed. With the others, the charts and so forth. Okay, so what's next? Oh, rules of procedure. There you go, I'm done. This is Becca and Lori Charmel. Or I can talk through it.
We'll talk to the.
Okay, so the rules of procedure, you had an effect. This commission is not in the current ordinance, which I find to be shocking. And this is not good. these are your rules of procedure. This is how you conduct your meetings. This is how you vote. This is how you handle vacancies. This is the order of your hearings typically. This is, how you make decisions, what's required for making motions. So these are pretty much the same as what you already had. What we've done is we've tried to, I already see a type in this, but that's okay. The idea was, these are fairly consistent with the Board of Adjustment, so the processes are similar. We went to some training and we looked at something, language for conflict of interest and so forth.
You know, the familial relationship with the applicant or the property owner.
Change things.
There could be some of that in this county,
No,
except for me.
Do we have to go through this third degree of
And Mary.
consanguinity or? I don't know, are you thinking you need to spell that out? I mean,
No, I'm
okay,
kidding. I think we'll be fine.
well. The one thing I will say, familial relationships with the applicant, does that mean
third cousin.
direct? Yeah, I was gonna say, does that mean, third cousin once removed? I mean, how far does that go?
I met you once.
So we should probably.
And we do have a lot of third cousins once or twice in Jackson County.
Yeah.
Immediate,
That's spelled out in that training. That we.
I didn't go.
we-
It is. So what I'm gonna suggest, Lori, is I'm not sure this guy.
It talks about conflict of interest. I don't know if it's spelled out.
Wasn't
The family, not part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It might have gone.
The training was before it, so. Oh, here's how I can make you like me again. I think we're done. Cause we need to make sure this matches that training
Yeah.
that we had. So I'm done, they're done. It's not even 9 o'clock. I know. Meeting, I'm like, you're troopers. Oh, but you should be able to go. So I think that we looked at that for the Board of Adjustment back on and then ran it by them, but I. think we did that this round.
A lot of it with that, we do that first cousin then. And after first cousin then.
So I do have one thing I wanted to talk about was our schedule.
We have. So whatever the training though is, what might be open.
Alright.
She said she's gonna talk about the schedule.
Wording, you know what? We don't have to talk about it
Okay,
now, because we're gonna talk about it either Wednesday or Thursday. And then we'll fill you in. We are not gonna get a public hearing in by July. Pretty imminent. We're not gonna get one in my office either. Because we need to give you time to look at the information. And some of it you haven't seen at all, so it's new. Some of you have seen, so it's not new, but it's still. But I'm not sure there's any rush on any, like this doesn't have a moratorium or deadline or anything attached to it. So it might be September. We're gonna chit chat about that. I'll let you know. We were racing to meet Lori's retirement and we didn't make it.
well, and then Lori's missed a lot of time.
So. And you were busy, with wind. And data processing. Then this, so. We'll visit and we'll see how it goes forward, but I think we have a very good amount of work done tonight. Thank you very much.
thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
So we're up to number 6, items from the commission. Anybody got anything? Besides this being Lori's official last meeting, right?
It is.
So you do have a hard. And I'm not speaking for everybody here, but I thank you very much for everything you did.
Thank you.
For the last, how many years?
Just 3. It felt like 12.
Yeah.
Well,
You made us get a lot
You
of
got-
stuff done.
you got more done in 3 years than some other commissioners got done in a lot longer. than that.
But I can honestly say, Tom and I have been here forever. And I seriously, I don't even know, I'm not even sure how many years I've been on board and Tom's been here longer.
Right.
And what I can, that's right. Since Jesus was a corporal.
What did you say?
Since Jesus was a corporal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like that.
My husband says. But I can tell you, we've accomplished more in the 3 years you have been here than we did in all of the years that I've been on board. There were many years, we didn't even have a meeting
Oh,
when we should have.
oh my gosh, you guys, you realize it's been 2 years and you had a meeting every month?
Yeah.
Well, see,
Yeah,
that's what,
you realize.
let's see. Lori, I think it's fair to say, I was here for a long time when David Manning was, and we had a meeting every month. And so you got done, and I honestly feel this way, you got more done in all the time from David Manning until you came here than in between. Because we really hit it hard, and we did not hit it hard, in between those 2 times, so, and there was reasons for that, but anyway, thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. I know there were some deferred things and that's, I saw some gaping holes and I'm like, oh, we need to fill this.
Giving holes, there were canyons.
That too. That too.
You will hear this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Becca's gonna do a great job. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I know we still got a little bit of money for ECIA for tutelage. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's all good.
Yes.
No, thank you guys. You guys have all been good to work with, and I appreciate all of you guys. And, oh man, for to only lose one person while we were working on that damn wind energy. Only if they close the meeting. But, yeah, they gotta close the meeting before I can turn off the
I move
recording.
we,
We still have a
Well, we
couple
have a
of
couple
things.
of-
yeah, that's right, yeah.
So do we have anything from the staff that needs to be addressed?
I will have an email for you. I'm gonna ask you guys to look at the A1 alternative setbacks. I have some real life scenarios that parcel numbers I'll send you guys. And there's gonna be a few things out there that just the 10 feet isn't gonna work on. Some of them are maybe by highways or hard roads and I do agree, we need to, some of these smaller lots that were platted in 1850, 1920, whatever it might be, that are sitting out there in the middle of nowhere. And there's one in mind because it's been a problem child for 2.5 years. And now someone else bought it and is trying to build on the darn thing. So yeah, we do need to recognize the differences in those smaller, what's legally non-conforming lots right now, because the current setbacks don't fit. And to try to keep them out of the Board of Adjustment process or giving us a little better guidance is, I think better, but I think the 10-foot front, 10-foot rear, 10-foot sides, need to be adjusted, just make them a little bit bigger. So, but I'll send you guys some examples of parcel numbers that and I ask you to put 10 foot behind the right of way on each of those, and you're still gonna be, man, right up on the road. So. Oh, but Laura's done a great job. I don't want to take anything away from all the work that she's put into this.
Thank you.
Really, I mean, I'm just seeing some things little things. Okay.
Yeah.
But,
All right, get it right. This is our shot. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, the next meeting will be once
18.
18th of them at 7 PM. Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Actually, on the iPad